So today we are going to take a look at NestJs. Uh, this is not Next.js, which is confusing names. There's also a thing called Nuxt.js. I don't know why they choose similar names. Uh, but today we are going to talk about NestJs, which is a Node.js framework that we are going to use for server-side applications. So these are the topics that we are going to take a look at today. First of all, we are going to get to know what is Next.js. Then why we are going to take a look at what makes Next.js special among other frameworks, and let's see how it works. Let's take a look at what is the concept behind Nest.js, and also in the end, let's see how to get started on Next.js, and let's try the hello world part. So first of all, have anyone here used Nest.js before?
Nope.
Yeah. So Nest.js is a Node.js framework, which, as I said, which we are going to use for server side, or we can call it the backend. Nest.js Nest.js is running above Node.js, so if under the hood, it uses the HTTP server framework Express. By default, it uses Express, which is the most popular Node.js framework for the HTTP servers. And also, we can define it to use Fastify as well, which is another HTTP server. But by default, it uses Express. So this is a Node.js framework which gives us which is efficient for building reliable and scalable applications. So that's Next.js. So the Nest.js was developed when the developers of Nest.js, when they were developing, they were inspired by AngularJS. So if you have worked with Angular, you might see some similarities between them. I personally I haven't worked with Angular, so I don't have much experience about the similarities, but they have mentioned in their documents that they were inspired by Angular. So now that we know about a little bit about Next.js, so let's see what makes it special and why we should be using Next.js. So it uses TypeScript out of the box. So when you don't have to configure anything. It just comes out of the box with TypeScript configured. So in case you don't know about TypeScript, TypeScript is a strongly typed language, which is a superset of JavaScript. So TypeScript is very helpful when you are scaling your application. It helps you to keep your code more organized, and it makes the code easy to understand, easy to read. So that's what a small introduction about TypeScript. We can take a look at TypeScript in an upcoming session if you guys are interested. And Next.js is easy to learn, easy to use, and easy to master. And also when it comes to unit testing, which is an essential thing, especially for server-side application, Nest.js give us just unit testing configured out of the box. So you don't have to manually install Jest. So it comes out of the box, everything configured. So which is another advantage of using Nest.js. And NestJS is highly scalable and is it easy to manage the code base. So in you will understand why it's highly scalable and easy to maintain when we are take a looking at the code base. And also it is highly configurable. There are tons of libraries you can use with NestJS, and NestJS support GraphQL, and or we can use NestJS with GraphQL or REST APIs. And also it can be configured with some popular ORMs. ORMs means like object relational mapping, which is we are using to manage database connections. Uh, and Mongoose logging, we can implement everything that we use in a server-side application like WebSockets. Everything can be implemented using NestJS. And also NestJS is also an open source, uh, which is a good thing. And also NestJS has this powerful CLI tool. We can take a look at it in the later. So it is also very helpful. Um, so that's what makes NestJS special. And for the past years, it has been growing among the developers. Uh, and also there are considerable amount of developers as well. And also in there's like 700,000 plus weekly downloads in npm, so which is also a good thing. And let's see what how the architecture of nestjs is built. So there are three main parts of nestjs code base, which is modules, controllers, and services. um, like we can start with the controllers. The control is the file that will contain all our API routes. So the controllers is the where the HTTP request we send going to receive, and it's going to give the HTTP response back. So that's the role of the controllers. And the services is the where that we include our methods that will perform our uh, certain operation. That's where we uh, handle the requests. And the modules, this modular based structure in NestJS helps to keep our code organized. And also we can use lazy loading, which is helpful to manage your performance of your application. And in the modules, just like the word says, it's going to bundle all our controllers and providers uh, together. So that's the architecture of the NestJS. And let's see how to get started with the NestJS. First of all, you can install the CLI tool, which is you can just run npm install -g, which means global install. You don't have to install it again and again. You can just, you can install it throughout your uh, user base. And you can all you have to run is nest new. You can give your project name, or you can clone a startup project, which is the same thing. But if you're using the CLI tool, we can have more features than just generating the boilerplate. So you can clone it from this URL as well, which is mentioned in the document. uh, so let's take a look at some code where we can understand what I said more. So as just I said, you can install the CLI tool. Then you can run a nest. new, and you can give it a name. So I just give it a name like case demo, and it's going to create our files, and it's going to ask that which package manager we would like to use. So I chose npm. You can you can choose between yarn or npm. So I have used npm. So it generated my boilerplate as my starting code. So this is the code that it provides me. As you can see, it's ESLint is configured, pretty is configured, TypeScript is there, and end-to-end testing with just, and testing also is configured. Uh, in here, you can see the controller part where I talked to you about. So this is the where our HTTP requests are going to receive. So for example, you can just see that this decorator. So these are the decorators that we are going to use in Nest to perform tasks. So for example, to make this controller, I have used this at controller decorator, and here you can see the HTTP method, get method. So in case you don't know about HTTP get methods, request methods, there are plenty of methods that we use to perform CRUD operation, which means create, read, update, and delete. So for create, we have post request, and for read, we have the get request. Just like here, you can see this is a get request. And for update, we have the put request, and for delete, we have the delete method as well. So in here, you can see we have there's a get method defined, and in here you can see this uh, the method that it is going to execute when that API is called. So, and it is can be found in this service layer. So uh, in the controller, we are going to define our routes or APIs, and there we are going to mention which method to call when when a request is made to that endpoint. So in the service, we are going to implement our uh, logic. So this is where we going to handle our data and going to return it as the response. So and here you can see this is going to return hello world, and this is the module. So every controller we are going to use, we have to uh, import it here and mention edit here, and the providers as well. And in the main TS file, this is where the survey started by default. You can change. I mentioned that by default this uses Express.js. Let's say you want to use Fastify, you can change some configurations to use Fastify instead of Express. So I'm going to start the server. Let's take a look at the package.json file. What are the scripts that we have? I'm going to run the npm start :dev command, which is going to start the server in watch command. So what watch command is just, let's say I change this to something, it's going to we don't have to restart the server, it's going to update the contents automatically. That's what the watch command does. You can, I just said it in case you are wondering what is that. So I'm going to run that command, npm run start dev. Okay, so my service starting here. If I go to the port 3000. In case you don't know which port it's running, it says it's running on port 3000. So if I call localhost 3000, I can see my hello world part. So this is a get request get method. So let's say you are using postman to and leave a page. If you call this endpoint as a get point, you can see the response as hello world. Uh, so I'm going, let's say I change something, going to restart the server, and if I refresh, you can see it's updated. Uh, so that's the code base. So if we, and in here you can see this, the spec.ts file, which is the unit test part. And you can see there's a unit test is implemented for test uh, the slash endpoint, which is this one. So in controller, you can name your API whatever. So let's say I change the route. So if I now change it, it says 404. There's no an endpoint called it slash. It's because I change it to hello. So if I call it like slash hello, I can see my uh, endpoint again. And for dynamic routing, so let's say we can just call it an ID. So now it's going to say it's 40 again. So dynamic routing means I can pass an ID here, whatever you can see, or whatever. It's going to match the endpoint as this one. So it's going to call this method, which is going to give us the hello world part. So that's a little bit about dynamic routing. So that's those are the things that comes out of the box, and you can configure all of them. And also with the CLI tool, you can generate more. You can generate your controllers using your CLI tool. So if I call let's generate help, uh, you can see I can generate app classes, configure controllers, uh, guards. So I'll explain what is a guard, middleware module like that. So for example, let's say I'm going to need next another module. So I'm going to call next generate, or you can call it just G, which is an alias. And I'm going to see which is module is. You can call it just module or MO. So I'm going to call it MO, and I'm going to give my module name. Let's say job. And as you can see, it's created my module. Oops. Mm, yeah, you can see the dog module that it just generated. You can use the CLI tool, or you can just manually create them. And this is an application. This is my first NestJs application. So uh, we have authentication, emails, and also I have used Google API. I have used Google Drive to upload some files as well. So it was pretty easy. And as most for implementing 80% of these features, all I had to do is just going through these uh, documents. As you can see, everything is explained, the fundamentals, the techniques, security, and how to connect your database. So everything is this. NestJS has this great documentation. All you have to do is follow everything from the start. You can build your application without any problems. So this guards part, is where we can use role-based access. So for example, if I go to a controller, you can see my and roles decoration, and I have says that the role is admin. So that means in order to access this endpoint, I need to be an admin. If it is not, it's going to say it's a 403, which is forbidden access. I don't remember the status message, but and you can even you can just uh, implement custom status codes as well. So you can say HTTP code. You can say something like 403 or things like that, and you can change your headers as well. So uh, uh, so yeah, that's the role decorate, and you can create custom decorators. So this roles decorator is a custom decorator that I created. So everything is in this document. In case you don't understand most of the things, I bet sure you didn't understand. Uh, you can go through the document. Everything is there. Uh, so that's the code base, and you can see this modularized structure. If I have different modules for different tasks, for example, the mailing, I have a different module, and my different services here. Yeah, so that's the code base. Uh, so these are the references I used. Most of the things are from the next documentation, and I read some uh, blog posts as well about the architecture. So these are the reference for the files. And here's a great a quote I came across. You can Google it. Uh, so thanks for listening. If you guys have any questions, you can drop a mail to me. Don't